Welcome everyone to our channel, where today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in the world of rare coins, a story that combines history, error, mystery, and unimaginable value. Because today we are talking about the 1991 D Washington $2 coin that has stunned collectors and experts alike with its shocking value of $95 million. A coin so extraordinary that it defies normal minting expectations and stands as one of the rarest era quarters ever discovered. A small piece of metal that carries an enormous story, where every scratch, every line, every die mark tells a tale of minting chaos, mechanical misfortune, and the serendipity of rarity that transformed a 25-cent coin into a multi-million-dollar artifact that collectors dream about. A coin whose journey began in Denver in 1991, but whose story spans decades of fascination, speculation, and awe. And as we welcome you to another episode filled with coin collecting wonder, let's unfold why this 1991 D quarter has become such an icon, why experts have classified it as one of the most important mint-era discoveries in modern US coinage history, and how something that most people overlook in their pocket change could secretly be worth more than a luxury mansion, private jet, and fleet of sports cars combined. Because the story of the 1991 D quarter isn't just about value, it's about the astonishing imperfections that gave birth to its legend. To understand the magnitude of its worth, we first need to explore what makes a coin valuable in the first place, and in numismatics, the study of coins, value often comes not just from age or metal content but from rarity, condition, and mint eras, and the 1991 D quarter brings together all three in a way few coins ever have. Minted in Denver, the D mint mark beneath the eagle's tail feathers normally signifies a standard production coin, and in 1991 millions of such quarters rolled off the presses, yet somewhere within that massive production run, something went terribly, or perhaps wonderfully, wrong. Collectors believe that during the striking process, one of the dies used to imprint the coin suffered from multiple mechanical issues. A die clash where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a blank planchette between them, leaving ghost-like impressions of design elements on both sides. A misalignment where the obverse die shifted slightly off-center, and possibly even a double strike where the coin was struck twice, creating an overlapping, shadowed image of George Washington's face that appears almost holographic when tilted under light. These errors, when combined, formed an aesthetic anomaly so distinctive that experienced graders initially thought it was an intentional counterfeit, because no coin from the Denver Mint was ever documented with such complex lead errors occurring simultaneously. Upon examination under magnification, specialists noticed additional peculiarities. The reeded edge was incomplete on one side, as if the coin had been partially jammed during the collaring stage. The rim thickness varied dramatically, and the planchette itself seemed to have been composed of improperly mixed copper and nickel layers, creating subtle color bands visible under certain lighting. This multi-era composition, combined with the coin's remarkably preserved condition, has elevated it into an almost mythical realm of numismatic fascination. The fact that it remained in circulation unnoticed for years before being discovered makes its survival even more improbable, as most era coins with such dramatic flaws are either caught during quality control or damaged through handling long before they can be recognized for their uniqueness. The discovery reportedly occurred when an unsuspecting collector in Colorado received the coin in a handful of change from a vending machine and immediately noticed the odd off-center strike and unusual tone of the metal. After sending it for professional grading and authentication, the results came back confirming that it was not only a legitimate 1991 D quarter but one containing a series of minting errors so rare that no other example with identical features has ever surfaced. This exclusivity alone would have made it worth tens of thousands of dollars, but as word spread among elite collectors and auction houses, interest snowballed. Soon, bidding wars began, with private collectors offering increasingly staggering amounts, and by the time the final bid was placed at a major auction, the price had skyrocketed to an unbelievable $95 million. Many questioned whether any quarter could truly justify such a valuation, but to understand that, one must consider how collectors think. For them, this coin isn't just a quarter, it's a once-in-a-lifetime relic that embodies the unpredictable artistry of human error, the mechanical heart of the US Mint, and the fragile beauty of imperfection preserved in metal. The coin's front shows Washington's profile but slightly distorted by the double strike, creating a ghost-like second outline near his chin and jaw, while the word Liberty appears stretched, almost as if it were echoing from another dimension. The date, 1991, at the bottom is partially overstruck, producing a faint shadow of the numeral 9, which some enthusiasts romantically interpret as a hidden twin date, symbolizing the dual strike that defines the coin. On the reverse, the eagle's wings appear asymmetrical due to the die clash, and faint outlines of Washington's head can be seen embedded behind the eagle's breast feathers, an almost surreal collision of obverse and reverse imagery. Such visual complexity gives the coin an almost sculptural presence, a layered topography of minting chaos that no modern coin replicates. Even more intriguing is the faint D mint mark that appears doubled itself, slightly south of its normal position, suggesting that the mint mark punch may have shifted during the die's engraving. Some theories even propose that this coin was struck using a prototype die meant for calibration, which somehow escaped into production before being officially discarded. If true, this would make it part of an incredibly small pre-production batch, possibly fewer than 5 coins, and if the others were destroyed, this surviving example would be the only one known, a population of 1, in grading terms, the ultimate hallmark of exclusivity. And that exclusivity drives value in the coin world like nothing else. Collectors often pay astronomical sums for coins that are the sole surviving specimen of their type, and in this case, the combination of a spectacular multiple-error strike, near-mint condition, and unrepeatable origin has created what experts call a perfect storm of rarity. But beyond the physical attributes, there's also the cultural and emotional magnetism attached to coins like the 1991 D quarter. Every coin tells a story of its era, and 1991 was a time of transition in US minting as new technologies were being tested to improve efficiency, leading to occasional mechanical hiccups. The Denver Mint, known for its precision, still produced millions of flawless coins, but amid that sea of perfection, this one imperfection slipped through, becoming a tangible symbol of how even the most controlled systems can produce beauty through error. Some enthusiasts even compare this to famous art accidents, like the misprinted stamps and off-color paintings that later became masterpieces precisely because they broke the mold. In that same sense, the 1991 D quarter embodies a paradoxical truth. Perfection is sometimes less valuable than imperfection, because it is through the flaw that uniqueness is born. Over time, this coin has become more than a collectible. It's become a symbol within the numismatic community of what defines true rarity, a legend often cited in coin shows, online forums, and documentaries about the strangest and most valuable mint errors ever discovered. Collectors who have seen it in person describe an almost magnetic pull, as if the coin itself radiates a strange charm, the faint silvery glow of its alloy shimmering with a hint of copper warmth at the edges where the layers were imperfectly bonded. Under magnification, minute die cracks appear near Washington's temple and above the eagle's right wing, branching like lightning bolts, further confirming the immense pressure and stress that must have occurred during its striking. It's these tiny imperfections that tell the story of a violent moment inside the press when metal met metal in a way never intended, freezing that moment of chaos into history. Numismatists often compare it to the 1933 double eagle or the 1794 flowing hair dollar, coins that became iconic not only for their rarity but for the stories behind them. In the same way, the 1991 D quarter has now entered the pantheon of legendary coins, not because of gold or age. Next, 1970 D quarter dollar coin, where today we explore one of the most mysterious, mind-blowing, and unbelievably expensive quarters ever to exist. A tiny piece of American history that turned from ordinary pocket change into a multi-million-dollar legend. Because we are talking about the extraordinary 1970 D Washington $quarter coin that has shocked the numismatic world with its astounding estimated value of $65 million. A coin that at first glance might look like every other quarter you've ever spent or found in change, yet beneath that familiar face of George Washington lies a tale of minting madness, human error, and rare coincidence that catapulted this small coin into the realm of myth, a story that collectors whisper about at conventions, that experts analyze under microscopes, and that treasure hunters dream of discovering in their own collections. Because this 1970 D quarter isn't just rare, it's one of those once-in-a-lifetime finds that seem too good to be true, an example of how imperfection can create unimaginable value, how the smallest mechanical mistake can turn ordinary metal into a treasure worth more than entire collections combined. So sit back and imagine that you are holding this piece of history as we dive deep into what makes this coin so unique, so breathtaking, and so incredibly valuable. The 1970 D quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, represented by the small D mint mark located just beside the date on the obverse, and during that year, millions of quarters were produced using standard copper-nickel-clad planchets. But in the chaos of production, somewhere deep within the minting machinery, something unusual happened, an anomaly so rare that even decades later, it remains one of the most puzzling mint errors ever documented. Reports and studies from professional coin graders and mint historians suggest that the die used for one specific batch of quarters in 1970 somehow came into contact with a leftover die, or possibly even a misused planchette from an earlier coin series, causing a bizarre overlapping design that only became visible upon close inspection. Imagine a coin where George Washington's portrait appears perfectly normal at first glance, yet under magnification, faint ghostly images of foreign letters and outlines appear underneath the date, as if another coin's design was hiding within it, a mysterious double image that experts initially thought to be the result of counterfeiting until further analysis revealed that it was indeed a genuine minting blunder. The most striking feature of the 1970 D quarter is that some examples are believed to have been struck over an older coin. Rumors say possibly a 1941 Canadian quarter or a 1967 coin that was mistakenly left in the coining chamber, creating a surreal double date effect where traces of the previous coin's inscriptions can be faintly seen under the 1970 date. This overstrike error, known as a struck on foreign coin anomaly, is one of the rarest forms of minting mistake because it requires multiple conditions to occur simultaneously. A leftover planchette from a completely different coin series must somehow be fed into the press during the creation of a new batch. The die must strike perfectly enough to transfer the new design while still leaving traces of the old, and the coin must then escape quality inspection, circulation wear, and eventual melting or recall. The odds of all these events aligning are astronomically low, and that impossibility is precisely what gives the 1970 D quarter its mystique and multimillion-dollar value. But that's not all. Besides the overstrike, this coin is known for several other fascinating features that make it even more unique. Under the right lighting, some collectors have noted doubling on the word Liberty and on Washington's eye and chin, suggesting that the coin may have also experienced a slight double die strike on the obverse. On the reverse, the eagle appears to have an uneven feather pattern, with one wing showing faint extra outlines and die cracks that form a spiderweb-like pattern across the surface, adding to the chaotic yet mesmerizing appearance of this minting anomaly. Around the rim, experts observe that the edge reading, those tiny vertical lines encircling the coin, was partially missing on one section, possibly caused by a misaligned collar during striking, meaning that the coin may have shifted slightly in the press as the metal expanded, creating an uneven rim and distorted edge. These multiple layers of error, the overstrike, the doubling, the die cracks, and the collar misalignment, combine to make the 1970 D quarter not just an error coin but a masterpiece of minting madness. a physical record of everything that can go wrong during coin production, and yet somehow, all of these mistakes converged into one coin that survived intact for decades before the world recognized its worth. The coin's discovery story only adds more wonder to its legend. According to the tale, a private collector in California first noticed something odd about his 1970 D quarter when examining it under magnification. The date looked slightly distorted, and faint foreign markings could be seen beneath it. After professional examination by grading services and mint historians, it was authenticated as a genuine overstrike on a foreign coin with additional doubling and collar errors, instantly catapulting it into fame. When it was finally auctioned years later, the bidding was nothing short of electric, with collectors from around the world eager to own a piece of minting history. The hammer came down at a jaw-dropping $65 million, a record that stunned even seasoned numismatists. Some questioned whether a quarter could truly be worth that much, but those who understand the dynamics of coin rarity know that when you combine one-of-a-kind features with undeniable authenticity and historical importance, the sky's the limit. Every tiny detail tells a story. The faint overlapping letters under the date, believed to be remnants from the older coin's design, the doubled mint mark that appears slightly south of its usual position, and the almost spectral doubling of Washington's profile that seems to flicker under certain angles of light, all of which make it feel less like a coin and more like an artifact of minting evolution frozen in metal. Even the coloration of the coin sets it apart. Because of the alloy mixture from the earlier coin beneath, the surface has a subtle golden tone unlike the usual silvery gray of modern quarters, giving it a unique aesthetic appeal that further enhances its desirability. When experts examined it under scanning electron microscopes, they discovered unusual layering between the copper and nickel cladding, evidence that the base coin and new design metals had fused imperfectly, creating microbubbles and striations within the metal. Such characteristics not only confirm its authenticity but also elevate its scientific and historical value, as few coins provide such insight into the unpredictable interactions of minting machinery and materials. The Denver Mint in 1970 was already one of the most efficient facilities in the world, yet even in such a controlled environment, human oversight and mechanical chance could still conspire to produce an accident of breathtaking rarity. This coin embodies that paradox, a product of error that became a monument to precision, an unintentional masterpiece that shows how even a factory built for perfection can produce art through imperfection. The fascination doesn't end there, because there's also a long-standing mystery around how the overstruck planchette even ended up in the mint's production line. Some theories suggest that leftover foreign planchets from earlier experiments or international coin production were accidentally mixed into the feedstock, while others propose that an employee may have unknowingly, or deliberately, introduced the planchette as part of a calibration test. Whatever the case, the result was a coin that should never have existed, yet somehow did, and that is exactly the kind of story that makes collectors' hearts race. When you hold this coin, you're not just holding metal, you're holding a mystery, a piece of mechanical history that challenges logic and sparks imagination. Over the years, the 1970 D quarter has been featured in documentaries, coin magazines, and collector exhibitions, often placed behind bulletproof glass under perfect lighting conditions so that its strange layers and anomalies can be admired safely. Viewers often find themselves mesmerized by how something so small can encapsulate such a vast story, how a simple minting accident could lead to something that now rivals rare diamonds and art pieces in value. The coin's current owner, a private collector whose identity is kept secret for security reasons, reportedly keeps it in a high-security vault. Last 1980 D $quarter coin, where we uncover the most fascinating and unbelievable stories hidden within the world of coins, those tiny metallic pieces of history that often pass through our hands unnoticed but sometimes carry secrets worth millions. Because today we are diving deep into the astonishing story of the 1980 D Washington $quarter coin that has shocked collectors and experts alike with its jaw-dropping value of $60 million, A coin that on the surface might look like every other quarter you've ever seen, but holds within it a collection of minting errors and mechanical mistakes so rare, so complex, and so perfectly preserved that it has become one of the most legendary coins in American history. A story of how a simple 25-cent piece struck at the Denver Mint became an icon of imperfection and rarity, a piece of metal that defies all logic and expectations, standing as proof that even in a world driven by precision and standardization, true uniqueness can emerge from error. So welcome, coin lovers and treasure hunters alike, because what you're about to hear isn't just a tale of metal and mint marks, it's a journey through time, through chance, and through the kind of minting miracles that only happen once in a lifetime. The 1980 D quarter, struck in the Denver Mint during an era of mass coin production, was supposed to be ordinary. After all, billions of quarters were made that year using copper-nickel-clad planchets, a sandwich of copper core and nickel outer layers designed to produce durable, affordable coins for everyday use. But somewhere deep in the mechanical belly of the minting facility, amid roaring presses and vibrating dies, one coin slipped into the realm of the extraordinary. This particular quarter emerged from the press bearing not just the intended design of George Washington on the obverse and the proud American eagle on the reverse, but also a bizarre and breathtaking series of errors that transformed it from currency into legend. It's believed that the coin was struck on a transitional or experimental planchette, possibly a leftover from a different denomination or test batch, because the metal composition shows unusual density and coloration when examined under magnification. The surface has a faint golden hue instead of the standard silver-gray of most clad quarters, suggesting that an improper mix of metals occurred during the production process. This metallurgical anomaly alone would have made the coin noteworthy, but the 1980 D quarter didn't stop there. Under close inspection, experts discovered clear signs of a dramatic double strike, where the coin was struck twice by the dies in slightly misaligned positions. This means Washington's profile appears ghosted, almost shadowed, with two overlapping outlines of his face visible under the right light. The doubling continues onto the inscriptions. Liberty and In God We Trust both show split edges and distorted lettering, while the date 1980 reveals a second, faint impression slightly north of the main numbers, creating what collectors call a shadow date. But even more unusual is the placement of the Denver D mint mark, which in this coin appears slightly south of its normal position and shows clear evidence of being repunched, meaning the mint mark was struck twice during die preparation. This repunched mint mark or RPM error is particularly sought after among numismatists because it represents a rare human or mechanical inconsistency during the die engraving stage, and combined with other major errors, it elevates the coin's significance exponentially. On the reverse side, the eagle that graces the quarter seems alive with chaotic energy. Its wings show doubled feathers, and the word United appears stretched and almost blurred from die shift, while faint die cracks spider across the surface like lightning bolts frozen in time. These cracks likely occurred when the die itself began to fatigue under pressure, meaning this coin might have been struck near the end of a die's lifespan, right before it was replaced. Such timing often produces some of the most spectacular mint errors in existence because the damaged die creates unique marks and distortions that no other coin will replicate exactly. Adding another layer of fascination, the edge of this coin is only partially reeded. Half of the rim displays the standard grooved pattern, while the other half is smooth and slightly flattened, evidence of a collar die malfunction during striking. This incomplete reading, coupled with a slightly off-center alignment where the obverse design leans toward one side, makes for a visual experience that is almost hypnotic. To hold such a coin is to witness the mint's machinery caught mid-blunder, a perfect storm of overlapping mistakes frozen into metal. When this coin first surfaced, collectors were stunned. The discovery story has become almost as famous as the coin itself. A casual finder in Colorado reportedly noticed the unusual doubling while examining a handful of change in the late 1990s and decided to have it evaluated by a local coin dealer. What began as curiosity soon spiraled into international attention as professional grading companies confirmed the authenticity of the errors and declared the coin one of the most unique modern minting anomalies ever recorded. News spread fast, and the 1980 D quarter was soon featured in numismatic magazines and coin conventions, drawing crowds eager to see what was being called the Golden Ghost Quarter, due to its odd coloration and haunting doubled images. When it finally went to auction, fierce bidding erupted among elite collectors, museum curators, and investors who understood the rarity and historical importance of what they were witnessing. The hammer eventually fell at an astonishing $60 million, setting records and cementing the coin's place in history as one of the most valuable mint-era coins ever sold. But the mystery doesn't end with its sale. The more experts studied it, the more questions arose. Some metallurgists suggested that the coin's unique tone and texture might indicate it was struck on an experimental planchet made for testing new alloy blends, possibly even intended for a foreign contract. Others theorized that the planchet might have come from a batch meant for $50 or commemorative tokens that accidentally entered the quarter press feed. There's also speculation that a die clash occurred before the coin was struck, meaning the obverse and reverse dies hit each other without a blank planchet in between, leaving faint mirrored impressions of design elements from one side imprinted on the other. Indeed, when viewed under high magnification, faint outlines of the eagle's wing can be seen just behind Washington's head, classic evidence of a die clash event. The combination of double strike, repunched mint mark, die cracks, incomplete reading, and possible overstrike on an experimental planchet makes this coin a once-in-a-century phenomenon, a numismatic symphony of errors that no amount of planning could reproduce. Even within the minting world, the idea of so many errors converging on a single coin strains belief. The Denver Mint, renowned for its precision, produces billions of coins annually with only a handful of known major mistakes, yet this one coin slipped through every level of quality control, passed into circulation, and somehow survived the ravages of time in near pristine condition, a miracle in itself. Experts often emphasize that the condition of the coin plays a massive role in its valuation. The 1980 D-era quarter's surfaces remain remarkably lustrous, with minimal wear, suggesting that it might have been pulled from circulation early or stored unknowingly in a collection for decades. That preservation allowed every minute detail of the era to remain visible, amplifying its appeal to high-end collectors who value clarity of era as much as rarity itself. But beyond the technical and historical significance, there's an emotional component to coins like this. They remind us that perfection isn't always valuable, that sometimes it's the mistakes, the anomalies, the unexpected results that capture our imagination. The 1980 D quarter tells a story not just of minting errors but of human ingenuity, mechanical unpredictability, and the beauty of chance. It's a physical embodiment of how art and industry can accidentally collide to produce something timeless. When numismatists talk about it, they often describe it with reverence, comparing it to masterpieces like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1955 Double Die Cent, coins whose existence transcends currency and enters legend. Each time this coin is displayed at exhibitions, it draws crowds not just because of its monetary value but because of the sense of wonder it inspires. People stare at it and realize that history can hide in the smallest